We're live? Definitely live. We're live. We're live. What's up? Listen, real quick before I even start, thank y'all for your viewership. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with me. Um, a lot of y'all gonna catch the replay of this. I know it's the NBA All-Star weekend. I believe the NBA All-Star game is actively on now. So a lot of y'all gonna catch this after the game. So I welcome each and every last one of you. Welcome to another episode, live and direct and living color. Roll the Tape Podcast with Manager Marty. Appreciate y'all coming out. Come on in, come on in. If you're here live, I want to say double salute. Come on in, come on in. Grab a plate. Please, please grab a plate. I have some food that I want to serve you this evening. Some food for thoughts. Grab a plate. Come on in. Who that, my boy? There you go. There you go. Salute to my guy, Cash Crypto. What's up, Cash? Haven't seen you in a while. I haven't been live in a while either. So, we about to start picking it up moving forward. Mac Marty is activated. Hey, Cash, they got your boy out here in the sweater. I'm looking like Mr. Rogers with the sweater. I feel like Mr. Rogers with the sweater on. My demographics tell me we have people ages 35 to about 45 years of age. That's a part of my demographic. Y'all remember who Mr. Rogers is. Y'all remember Mr. Rogers? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Yeah. Hey, Cash, I was going to say Bill Cosby. I was going to say I'm wearing the sweater. They got your boy looking like Bill Cosby, but the Me Too movement is so powerful in America. I don't want nobody to cancel me. I mean, listen, we know since the whole snack program and Victor Conti situation started happening, when I brought it to light, all of a sudden, somehow, some way, my YouTube channel has been shadow banned. It's no secret. We already know that. So listen, I have enough problems with the viewership. All right. So listen, I don't want no problems with the Me Too move. I'm not even going to say Bill's name, even though Bill Cosby is actually from my hometown, right? Even though Bill Cosby's alma mater is in my hometown, right? I'm talking about his high school and his college tenure, right? Yeah, but I'm just going to leave it at Mr. Rogers. How can a black man get in trouble mentioning Mr. Rogers in a sweater? No, man, listen, I am so glad to be here. I don't care about the haters, Cash. I feel good today. I know basketball is on, but I just couldn't let y'all get away with not getting a live from me, right? And having some human interaction with me. I miss you all. I do. I miss you all. We're going to talk about Victor. I got to stop saying Victor Ortiz. Why I keep thinking about Victor? Vergil Ortiz. Vergil Ortiz versus Boots. We're going to get into all of that. There's reports that's been leaking over the internet, right? That Vergil Ortiz and Jaron Boots Ennis will fight sometime in April of this year, right? We're going to talk about that. But we also have to talk about Shakur Stevenson and this whole debacle that he's in with the WBC, president of the WBC, Mauricio Suleiman, the son of the late, great Jose Suleiman. He came out in an interview. I don't even know how to pronounce the guy's name. The AH show, right? And I want to play some excerpts of the interview that Mauricio did on that segment because he broke down the sanctioning fees, because that's the whole beef between Shakur Stevenson, of course, his representation, and the WBC. And I wanted to shed light on it. Yes, I know I already published a video on it, but I wanted to reiterate some facts in the video, but I also wanted to get your reaction live in living color. And if you are here watching the replay of this live, first, double salute to you. but please engage in the comments section below because we have the president, WBC president, Mauricio Suleiman, who's going to break it all the way down. And I think that we should engage as a boxing community. And who else more qualified and better to speak on the topic of the business of boxing, but yours truly, me. Thank you, Cash, for the compliment. Appreciate you, big dog. I see you in the live chat. Now, let's start this off by talking about the whole Vergil Ortiz Jr. versus Jaron Boots Ennis fight that's supposed to be allegedly rumored and reportedly happening this year, actually in a few months in Las Vegas. This is what we're hearing. Now, I have to say this. I know that people are not going to like what I'm about to say. Some people. But you know me, Kaz Crypto. You know me, Roll the Tape Film crew members. I'm going to say it whether people like it or not. And I'm going to bring his name up. And I'm talking about Blue Blood Sports TV. He's not the only one, but I'm going to use him as a reference, right? And the reason why I'm using him as a reference is because somebody who's a part of the Roll the Tape family, they sent me a small excerpt of his video. And this is what people do all the time. It's nothing new, right? The difference is when I say that someone sent me something from Blue Blood, I'm really telling the truth. When Blue Blood told y'all for the last several years that people have sent him stuff, I mean, every time he addresses me or says something about me, he always make it seem like he's not watching me, right? There is no beef between Blue Blood and I. I want to make sure we're clear. There's no beef here. I don't know if he said something about me lately or not. I don't know. But this has absolutely nothing to do with me. And this has absolutely nothing to do with him. I'm just using this as a reference because I was recently sent something from a Roll the Tape family member. And I heard Blue Blood say, now granted, it was only a 35-second, I think the video was probably like a minute, but I didn't give him a whole minute. I just wanted to see what I was being sent, right? But I heard him say, and I have to address this, this is equally as important. I heard Blue Blood Sports TV say that from his ears to your ears, he's hearing word on the street about the whole Vergil Ortiz versus Boots. And I have to say this. The people that was commenting and doing videos on this fight, reporting this fight, including Blue Blood Sports TV, didn't hear it from inside sources, okay? I'm just going to keep it real with y'all. People that's a part of the Roll the Tape family, y'all know me. Y'all been here. You know how I carry it. Yahoo Sports, all right? Yahoo Sports. Shout out to Yahoo Sports. Yahoo Sports. They are the ones who was first to report the rumor. And people read the article and then start repeating what they heard. What's up, Thomas? And all I'm saying is, since I'm using Blue Blood Sports TV as a reference, all I'm saying is, when you get information and you are a content creator, please give credit to the source. That's all I'm saying. Because a lot of times, and we've seen this, I've been on YouTube now 3 years as far as being a content creator in the boxing community, right? So I've seen this movie play out thousands and thousands of times where people act like they're the first to report something, and the whole time, there's nothing wrong with being the first to report it, but notate, right? Your sources. Don't make it seem like you got a phone call. A lot of YouTubers do that. Oh, I got a phone call, word on the street, my ear is to the ground. I was in the boxing gym listening to, just stop. You read a news article from such and such, and you repeated it, and you made it seem as if you were the originator, or you made it seem like you had a very close source of the situation or close to the situation. And I'm just saying, let's keep it real. Let's have integrity, journalistic integrity. That's all I'm saying. I'm not throwing a shot at Blue Blood, but all I'm saying is I know he made the reference that I heard him say from my ears to your ears, but it wasn't your ears, Blue Blood. You read an article from Yahoo Sports and them, and you repeated it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but just keep it real. Because at the end of the day, I can call Bozy and Boots and them on the phone like now. I'm not going to do it, but I'm just using it as an example. I can go into their gym right now with no restrictions. I'm cool with them. And I'm saying cool with them to a point where I want to make sure we clear, to a point where I can still keep it real. Most of you know this. I've said things that I don't agree with about Boots. And I'll give you an example. I don't like how he willingly takes certain punches, right? I said that publicly, right? Okay, then. So it's not like I'm so cool where I'm so biased where I'm not going to keep it real. No, I'm going to always keep it real and have integrity no matter who it is, right? So the thing about it is I didn't call Boots and them. I did not call them. I didn't. I'm going to let Yahoo Sports and them do what they do. Because here's the thing. When I talk to Bozy and Boots and them, especially with me and Mr. Bozy, always busting it up on the phone, either on the phone talking or texting, or when I see them, right? I always keep our conversations confidential because that's how I am. Now, if somebody say, well, look, you could put that out there and report it, I'll do that. But I'm not a media member. I don't represent the media. You all know that already. So I don't have to break news. I might speak on something, but I don't have to be the first one to break news or do interviews. To each his own, right? But I'm just saying, let's have some journalistic integrity, shall we? If you know you didn't hear it from the sources, then don't make it seem like you did. You read an article and you're reacting to it. That's all I'm saying. Now, somebody can say, well, Manager Marty, why do you have to bring that up? Because I heard it. And it's not the first time it's happened. Salute to my guy Band Up. I know that's your man Band Up, but I love how Band Up still come over here and support me, right? He's in the live chat. That's my guy. Everybody know Band Up, my guy. But I know Band Up cool with Blue Blood. But that's not gonna stop me from keeping it real. That's what Band Up respect about me. Salute. Salute the Jab Queen. What's up, Jab Queen? Good to see you, sweetheart. But I'm just saying, it affects me because I sat here for an entire year and a half, right? And I'm going to say this and we're going to move on to the Ortiz versus Booth situation. But I sat here for 1 year and a half. 2 cents boxing. Salute. What's up? I sat here for a year and a half. And I've watched so many people. I'm talking about when I say a year and a half, I mean consistently for an entire year and a half. And I've watched people. And these are people that don't even come on the platform. They don't even come on my platform anymore, some of them. But I sat there and I sat back and I've watched people literally take a talking point that they didn't hear or find from nowhere else and then go on their platform and repeat the very words that they heard me say that no one else said, that no one else had knowledge about, and did not give me a credit. Not so I can get fame. I think everybody knows me at this point. Fame is not my motivation. You know that. Everybody knows that. Money's not my motivation. Everybody knows that too. So it's not about me getting a pat on the back or getting any adulation from anyone or having to get acceptance from everybody knows me. So I don't have to explain it, but I'm going into that for my new audience members that's new to the channel, right? I sat there and watched people literally take a talking point that they never would have gotten anywhere else, repeat it, not cite the source, and then on top of it all, monetize it. If you're going to take something that you heard from me and actually repeat my words verbatim, come on over to the platform like you've been doing, because you've been watching. Obviously, that's how you heard me say it. And slip $1 in the Cash App. Slip a dollar in the super chat. Support the platform because you ain't going to find it nowhere else. For an example, the whole debacle of Snack, right? I mean, that's the only biggest reference I can use. The whole situation when it came to Snack, right? When people talk about Snack, SNAC, right? When people talk about Snack, we know who the owner of Snack is, Victor Conti, RIP Victor Conti, right? But when people on YouTube talk about Snack, they don't think of the owner of Snack. Isn't that awesome? They don't think of Victor Conti when they talk about Snack. When people talk about Snack, they don't mention too much about Victor Conti first. They actually talk about and think about where they get the information that they learn from Snack. Me, right? So all I'm going to say is when you hear it, you know where it's coming from. But I have some great content creators who have given credit where it was due, who have shouted me out when they've learned something, not just about Snack. I've been teaching about the business of boxing for 3 years on this platform. But I'm just saying in general. So I'm not saying that people don't give me credit or shout it out or cite the source. The only reason why I'm bringing this up is so that we can maintain journalistic integrity. When you hear something or you read something, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, credit to, this platform, that platform. This is where I read the article from. I'm doing a reaction video. This is where I heard the interview from, or this is where I heard. Don't make it seem like you got some inside sources. I've been telling y'all that about him, but it's not about Blue. I'm just, putting it out there. Double salute to my guy, Many Face Publishing. Hey, listen, I didn't know all of y'all were going to be here tonight. This was just a sneak up. I just wanted to pull up and sneak up on y'all on the live. Man, we got everybody here. We got the family here tonight. Hey, Many Face, they got your boy in the sweater looking like Mr. Rogers. I started to say Bill Cosby to my new audience that just jumped in, because I do feel like Bill Cosby a little bit. I'm talking about with the sweater, nothing else. Let me be clear. I don't need to drug anybody. I'm talking about with the sweater, with the sweater. I look like, how the Cosby Show. You know how he wear the sweaters and all that. That's what I'm talking about. I know the Me Too movement is here watching. Women are watching. I don't mean nothing by it. All I'm talking about is the sweater. That's all I'm saying. But let's get to this Vergil. I got to make you all laugh. I miss y'all. Let's get to this Vergil Ortiz. No, you didn't, Many Face. That boy said I'm looking like I'm in Catholic school. I love the family. Listen, Vergil Ortiz versus Boots, right? Who this? What band up talking about? Nah, I didn't know that, band. I didn't know that. Look, where was I at? Oh, Vergil Ortiz. See, I'm reading the live chat. Vergil Ortiz. Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah, of course, 2 cents. It's all theatrical. We know that. Yes, indeed, always. Vergil Ortiz versus Boots Ennis, right? Now, let's say the fight's going to happen. Let's just say it is, because we know that Vergil Ortiz Jr., right now as we speak, that we know of. Now, if somebody else knows something that I don't know, because I didn't call anybody in boxing. Maybe y'all in the live chat or watching the replay of this live in the comment section, maybe y'all can tell me. But as of right now that I know of, I didn't make any phone calls behind the scene. I don't know. Vergil Ortiz Jr. still have an active lawsuit against Golden Boy Promotions and Oscar De La Hoya, right? From what I know as of right now. So if that's the case, I know they have to work that out. No question about it. But right now, if the fight's going to happen now or later, let's be clear on something. Vergil Ortiz is locked into a guaranteed contractual obligation to Golden Boy Promotions and Oscar De La Hoya. Let's be clear on that. I just want to make sure we're clear, because some people might think, well, they have a lawsuit, and because they have a lawsuit, Vergil Ortiz Jr. might be put on the shelf. He's not going to fight Boots. He's not going to fight anyone else. No, Golden Boy Promotions also equally have a contractual obligation to Vergil Ortiz Jr. In other words, is in the language of the contracts. This is standard in boxing. There are a certain amount of fights per year that the promoter is guaranteeing for that particular fighter or professional boxer, right? So in that, they still have to meet the obligation for Vergil Ortiz. We're in 2026, right? Point number two. Let's just say that Vergil Ortiz Jr. is going to fight Boots. I said this before months ago, and I'm going to say it again now. Everybody, whether you're a fan of Vergil Ortiz, whether you are a fan of Boots, whether you're not a fan of either fighter, whether you're a content creator, whether you're just a boxing fan, etc. Whoever said, and I am going back, I am going back a year and a half to a little over a year ago. Whoever said that Boots was ducking Vergil Ortiz, I'm going to need you to apologize publicly to Boots. Because I heard a lot of y'all telling people, and when I say telling people, the comment section, even on my channel, people was in my comment section saying it too, right? You know who you are. When that situation happened, I always refer back to this. It's important. When that situation happened, where Turki Al-Ashiki allegedly approached Eddie Hearn on behalf of Boots for Boots to go up, move up in weight to 154 to fight Vergil Ortiz. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? This is at the same time that Boots was still at the welterweight division, and he was still trying to fulfill his dream to become undisputed as the welterweight champion. Y'all remember that? Okay. People took that and said Boots is ducking Vergil Ortiz. People criticize me, and I've been on multiple platforms speaking on this topic when it first happened in February of 2025. Boots moving up in weight was not the goal right then and there. When I said that, some people criticized me and was like, oh, you only saying that because Boots is from your hometown of Philly. You're only saying that because you have a relationship with Boots, his coaches, you know his team, blah, 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 blah. It's a Philly thing, and you're just being biased. And I broke down the business of boxing and how it works and how I believed, knowing the business, that at the time that this whole thing was happening, where Boots was supposed to be, quote unquote, ducking Vergil Ortiz Jr., that it was in Boots' best interest to stay in the welterweight division so that he can fulfill his dream on his terms to be undisputed in the welterweight division. The example I use, and most of y'all probably remember this, the example I use was Boots is getting unfair criticism. Why did I say that? Because when Terrence Crawford, right, when he wanted to fight Errol Spence Jr., and he wanted to become undisputed and capture all the 4 major world titles in the welterweight division, nobody criticized him. When Errol Spence wanted to become undisputed and maintain the 3 belts and go after Terrence Crawford to capture the 4th title, the 4th belt, and become undisputed and have all 4 of the major titles in the welterweight division, nobody criticized him. But when it came to Boots, all of a sudden Boots needed to move up. All of a sudden Boots needed to go fight Vergil Ortiz. By the way, in Saudi Arabia, in another country. By the way, not for a title. It would have been a non-title fight. By the way, for another promotion. And we know this. I taught y'all the business of boxing. And if you've been around me long enough, you know this. That anytime a professional boxer compete on another promoter's card that is not exclusively the card of the actual promoter that he or she is signed to, a certain percentage of their purse must be paid to the promoter. So in my mind, I was thinking to myself as a businessman, why should Boots have to move up to a new weight division for the first time, fight in another country, in another um, in another venue that he's not accustomed to being in, for another promotion, meaning the whole Ring Magazine, Turkey Al Sheikh Riyadh season, where not only will a percentage of his purse have to go to Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, but don't forget, because he still was the IBF champion, a percentage of his purse would have to go to his sanctioning fees. Why should he have to go through all of that when he can actually fight in America, his home country, against another world champion and unify? And guess what happened? He actually fought for a unification title. Y'all remember that? Right? Did he not? He didn't fight Vergil Ortiz, even though people accused this man of ducking Vergil Ortiz. Not only did he not have to go to another country, not only did he get the opportunity to fight in his home country of America, he was able to fight in his hometown and sell out the Wells Fargo Center. And also for the belt in a unification bout. If that didn't make better business sense, then I don't know what did. I'm comparing that to him fighting Vergil Ortiz at that time. So it proved that I was right. Not saying that to show, hey, I know the business of boxing and I'm right. No, the point that I was making is that Boots didn't duck. It was just good business. And guess what happened? He defeated Stanionis. And then he captured the second world title in the welterweight division. So it worked out, right? Okay, then. So I said all of that to say, just to give you context, y'all see now that Boots was never ducking Vergil Ortiz. We've seen how Vergil Ortiz demolished, what's the kid's name he just fought? What's his name? It was literally on the tip of my tongue. The Hammer. I don't know why. Y'all know, what's his name? Somebody tell me in the live chat. I'm having a brain freeze. He just fought him in the second round. Thank you. Jab Queen, thank you. Erickson Lubin. Demolished Erickson Lubin in the second round. Now, I'm not even going to bring up the fact that I told y'all when a fighter's on snack in the first round, second round, third round, sixth round, ninth, and 10th round, all of a sudden the power resurgence happens. I'm not even going to bring it up. But Erickson Lubin was TKO in the second round. You know, sort of like how Devin Haney knocked down Brian Norman Jr. in the second round. You see, I've been calling this stuff out. But the point that I'm really driving home is that after that fight, Boots jumped right in the ring. Boots jumped in the ring. And both of these fighters had a face-to-face confrontation. That's what boxing needs. And it was awesome. It was great promotion. And I do believe that the fight between Vergil Ortiz and Boots is going to be spectacular. It's going to be a good fight. I think everybody knows who I think is going to win, but we didn't even get there yet. Let the reports come out, not rumors. Let it be confirmed first. And I'm going to do my due diligence. And then once I do my due diligence, and then when I hear something more concrete and definitive, I promise y'all, if y'all don't know, by then, I will let y'all know. Okay? Boots versus Vergil Ortiz is a really good fight. At 154 pounds, awesome fight. It's a big money grab for both guys. It's a good money grab for both Guys, anytime you put a black fighter versus a non-black fighter, that black fighter should come up and make some good money. They're gonna make good money anyway. But I'm just saying the nature of the business when it comes to free enterprise, especially Vergil Ortiz has a whole country on his back. And he does really good numbers in his hometown. We know this, don't we? I wouldn't mind seeing a fight in Las Vegas or AT&T Stadium. But I think Las Vegas would be more of a neutral ground for both guys, even though we know that on the West Coast, Ortiz have a bigger following, possibly. Possibly. Now, moving right along. And guess what? When the fight gets announced, because I believe that Eddie Hearn and Oscar De La Hoya, the two promoters, they are going to have to somehow, some way, put their egos to the side, right? Get the check from the zone, get the check from Turkey Al Sheep, because that's who the money's going to come from. I just want to make sure we're clear on that. You ain't going to find this nowhere else. That's why I'm glad you're here. But the zone's going to cut the check. Turkey Al Sheep's going to cut the check. And then everybody's going to split the back end where it's supposed to be split. And then the fighters will get paid. As long as the promoters get their ego out the way. We know that Eddie Hearn have been on record in multiple interviews talking about how much he's the one that been lobbying for this fight. He's been initiating the negotiations. And even De La Hoya even confirmed it on one of his clapback Thursdays a couple of weeks ago. So we know that's true. Once these guys get their egos out the way, I'm talking about the guys in the suits, not the fighters. The fighters already shook hands on it, and they ready to get it on, both of them. But I'm talking about the guys in the suits behind the scenes. Because it's usually the guys in the suits, the boxing managers, most of you know, right? I was a boxing manager. The promoters, that's usually, the representatives, right? It's never the fans. It's never the sanctioning bodies. It's never the commissions. It's definitely never the sponsors. And most of the times, it's not the fighters, but it's the guys and girls in the suits and boots. Because at the end of the day, everybody wants to not just protect their bottom line, but also make a profit in this business, which it is very easy to do when you have a network and when you have sponsors. When I say a network, let me be clear. I'm talking about the streaming platforms like Amazon Prime. We have the Zone right now. Zuffa Boxing. I'll do a video on that earlier this week, right? They are with Paramount or Paramount Plus, right? You got did I say the Zone already? The Zone. So that's who's cutting the check in exchange for the product, because they're in the business of producing content. That's how it works. And guess what? Once they pay the promoters the licensing fees, they're able to monetize and recoup off their initial investment and even profit by making residuals, because they own the content that the fighter, the product, the boxer is competing on. And then what? In 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2, 5, 10 years later, they can keep on recycling the content. We talked about that. I taught y'all about that process, right? So speaking of sanctioning body, we have to deal with Shakur Stevenson and the fact that he is having a major issue with being sanctioned $120,000 in sanction fees that the WBC requested from him, obviously, after he fought Teofimo Lopez. Now, to give you context on this, anytime a professional boxer who is a world champion, I'm talking about actively walking around with the titles of the sanctioning bodies. Now, there's 4 of the sanctioning bodies that everybody widely recognizes, but there's way more than 4 sanctioning bodies. Just want to make sure we're clear on that. It's way more than 4, right? Because we have a lot of regional sanctioning bodies too that most people don't talk about. But the point that I'm making is the 4 major sanctioning bodies that's more widely recognized or even widely talked about compared to the others, we know there's sanctioning fees that are applied to the fighters, right? That represent themselves as the world champion. Anytime a fighter who's a world champion compete for the title to defend it, and anytime a challenger is challenging for the title, they and the fighter who's defending the title have to pay a sanction fee. Just want to make sure we were clear on that. I spoke on this and I taught my earlier roller tape family members when I first jumped on YouTube. I taught you all the rules and regulations, put the rules and regulations on the screen and everything, broke it down. Some of y'all remember that. Some of my day ones, my day one supporters, day one family members, right? That's still here. But in any event, no exception to the rule has been given to any fighter in that. Let me take it a step further. I taught you all this. If you're new to the channel or if you only been around for a year or two, I'm going to refresh the memories of those who were with me in the beginning. But I'm also going to educate you, my other roller tape family members, right? The promoter, most people don't know this, but it's in the rules and regulations. And I talked about this. I taught this. The promoters are also required to pay sanctioning fees on behalf of the actual professional boxer that they are promoting. And it's not just at the event or for the event that the bout is being sanctioned. It's even before that, because there are certain levels that fighters get to before they can actually be eligible to compete for an actual world title. Just to give you some context on that. So the promoter is constantly paying. For an example, these continental belts, like the WBC Continental Championship title that you see some of the up and coming fighters or the mid-tier fighters fighting for and competing for, yeah, it's a sanctioning fee associated to that. Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear. It's not just the world titles. The regional sanctioning bodies that require fees to be assessed to the fighters and the promoters as well. So the promoters are always dishing out monies and fiduciary responsibilities to the promoter to be able to get their fighters in the ranking system. And obviously, when the fighter is ranked in the top 15, now we're talking about a different type of process. So I'm bringing that up because I want to lay a foundation. I'm laying a foundation. Double salute to BVO Sports TV. What's up, my guy? Laying the foundation. So all of this time, years before a professional boxer becomes a world champion or defend a world title or challenge for a world title, they're coming up in the ranking system. And they're coming up in a ranking system because the sanctioning bodies have the regional titles that the promoter and the fighter is paying for. Now, once they're ranked in the top 15 and in the top 10, right? Now they're able and eligible to compete for a world title. The point I'm making is somebody has to pay for that. It's not free. Somebody's manager and boxing representation has to pay for that. It's not free. Somebody's boxing promoter has to pay for that process. It's not free. And of course, as we know, the fighters have to pay for it. It's not free. So in that, we have Shakur Stevenson. After defeating Teofimo Lopez, which I told y'all he was definitely going to do, we have him beating Teofimo, and now he is widely recognized worldwide as a 4-division world champion. Well, what does that mean? It's very simple. Shakur Stevenson and his promotion company, and I'm going to include top ranked promotions in this, have been paying sanctioning fees ever since he was a champion. I'm talking about well before he fought Teofimo Lopez. There's a process that goes into it. And so there was no complaints from Shakur Stevenson's manager, Jay Prince. There was no complaints from Shakur Stevenson himself. They wasn't complaining when he was in the lower weight classes. I'm talking about way before he fought Teofimo Lopez. Because at the end of the day, we know that he was a lightweight champion. Right or wrong? Yes. He was the lightweight champion before he moved up in weight to challenge Teofimo for his WBO title. Correct? Okay. No complaining all these years. Never had a problem paying. But now it's a problem. Now, I don't know if they were influenced by Team Crawford or not, because we know Terrence Crawford, is close to Shakur. But what we do know is that we've seen this movie play out back in December. Y'all remember that? When Terrence Crawford, he came out and he spoke on his disdain and disenchantment for having to be assessed a fee of over $300,000 after he defeated Canelo Alvarez from the WBC. I'm setting that all up to say that Mauricio Suleiman, I said this in the beginning of the live broadcast, but Mr. Suleiman just conducted an interview the other day on the AH show, and I wanted to actually play an excerpt of what he said because he was asked about Terrence Crawford. He was asked about the WBC, basically, assessing sanction fees and how that process worked. But before I play it, and I have to give commentary on it because there's a business element to it all. Before I play it, I appreciate all of you that's joining me live in living color. Y'all know I don't ask for much. Can somebody hit the like button? I need the information and education to reverberate all across the YouTube boxing community. Can somebody, I don't ask for much. I am the most controversial, the most insulted, the most imitated, but the least paid content creator in the boxing community. Can I at least get one like? That's all. I don't ask. I wore the sweater tonight. I feel like Mr. Rogers. BVO, you remember Mr. Rogers. You old enough to remember Mr. Rogers. Remember Mr. Rogers, BVO? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I was going to say Bill Cosby to my new audience members, and I do feel like I'm Bill Cosby with this sweater on. I do. From the Cosby Show, the character, in the Cosby Show, Mr. Huxtable. Maybe I should say that. I feel like Mr. Huxtable. Yeah, there it is. There it is, 2 cents. I feel like Mr. Huxtable with the sweater on. What's up, Steve? My man Steve back here, man. I feel like Mr. Huxtable. Because, the Me Too movement, they still around now. Because, Bill Cosby done upset them and all that situation happened. He was convicted. Y'all know Bill Cosby from my hometown. Y'all know that. His alma maters, everything is Philadelphia with Mr. Cosby. The man done did time in jail and everything behind it. I'm just saying Mr. Huxtable. That's what I'm saying. I don't want no problem with the Me Too movement. Let me take my glasses off. I don't care about no problem with the Me Too movement. I need the Me Too movement to help me too. Not for the same reasons. Y'all gotta get your mind off the gutter. Get your mind out the gutter. I see y'all. But listen, I did get the like that I asked for. I don't ask for much because I want the likes to be congruent with the viewership. Anyway, listen. I'm going to play this clip and I want y'all to hear it objectively. This is the WBC president, Mauricio Suleiman. We're going to discuss it. I'm going to let him run his whole spiel on it. Then I'm going to come back. We're going to, come back and we're going to deal with it. You know what? I'm doing way too much talking. Y'all know my slogan, right? Can somebody type my slogan in the chat? We got new members here. We got new members, new family members that don't know how I roll. They don't know the slogan. Can somebody type the slogan? I'm gonna set it up for you. If you watching a replay of this live, salute to you again. In the comment section below, you can engage with us. In the live chat, engage with me. Just type it in. Can somebody tell the new audience members the slogan? I'm gonna set it up for you. I'm doing way too much talking. Many Fakes Publishing is here. He can do it too. I'm doing way too much talking. Don't take my word for it. My brother from Florida is here. Salute to my guy, Cool Lump. What up, Cool Lump? He said it. Roll the tape.
Speaking of that Terrence Crawford fight, obviously there was a lot of hoopla in December when he pretty much vacated the title and you took it back, right?
Yes.
He's no longer WBC champion. Can you tell me your side of the story? I've seen him talk about it. I saw when he went on Instagram and he spoke about it and said a lot of things about you. I'm sure you've seen this as well.
I did not want to see it.
You didn't want to see it?
No, I saw the beginning when
he was in his car,
and there was some captions and things that he said. A lot of F.
Yeah.
And I did not feel I wanted to see that. I read a few things because we were just coming off a great convention in Thailand.
Yes.
We had unbelievable, great moments, everything positive, a working plan for the next year. So you have 1,000 good messages and then one negative. I'm not going to read that.
Okay, fair enough. But that's from a big voice, right?
Yeah. No, but I see people told me what it was all about.
Yeah.
So I said, no problem.
So what's your side of the story?
Okay, the side of the story is very simple. First, I'm very sorry. Always it has to go to economics. Money. They blame it on the money, but it's not about the money. Terrence is a sensational fighter, a fighter of an era. I wish him the best. Now that he has retired, he has my full appreciation and friendship and best wishes for his life outside of the ring. But he was WBC champion in the welterweight division. He asked to fight a final elimination against Madrimov in the super welterweight and keep the welterweight. When you fight under those conditions, there are rules because it's a WBC special event. Within the rules includes the payment of sanction fees. We can talk about sanction fees when I finish, if you like.
Please.
That happened. My mom died on that weekend.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. So that matter of that event carried on for some time. Last year, they announced fighting Canelo. Absolutely. WBC will sanction, and there are rules. The fighters have to pay sanction fees. When this is such a huge event with a lot of money, we made a cap. It was not the 3% that the rule says, but we put a cap for that amount. And
was the cap 300?
300,000.
Okay.
Out of 50 million, it's much more, not even 1%.
Right.
And he won. He knew about it. Him and his team and everybody knew that even we had a cap. And he fought. Nothing was said. And then he didn't pay the sanction fees. He decided to do so. So it is not necessary. It is unnecessary to go in through that process and blame the money because it has nothing to do with the money.
Has he always paid the fees in the past?
Well, he paid the fees. He was our super lightweight champion, welterweight champion. He fought Spence, and then
there was no issue. And just so I know, is there a deadline? Like, let's say he fights September 13th. Does he have to pay by 60 days, 90 days? How does that usually work?
They should pay. The promoters should pay before the fight.
Yes.
But as I said, it is not. We are not like a collecting agency. So most of the times, the promoters they pay next week after the fight.
Okay.
They close their dealings. In Japan, in England, many countries, they pay even at the weigh-in. They want the payment.
Okay.
Some on Monday, but it is just a difference. There's in good faith.
Sure.
If we were in bad faith, we would simply collect before. If not, there's no fight.
And in that process, did you ever speak to him and get an explanation as to why he didn't want to pay that amount?
No.
So how does it work to the point to where it like explodes in front of everyone and he's no longer WBC champion? How do we get to that point?
Well, the fight was in September.
Yes.
We sent several letters through his representatives, and they knew that they had to address the matter, the situation. And when we got to the convention, it was clear that they decided not to honor what they signed for.
The WBC fee was more than the IBF, WBO, WBA, right?
I don't know.
That's
All right, we've heard enough. So that's the situation that we're dealing with, even with Shakur Stevenson now. Did you all hear that? I want to make sure we can get an audio check. You all heard that? Can we get an audio check real quick? I just want to make sure that we all heard that at the same time. Did you all hear what I just played? That was the president of the WBC, World Boxing Council, Mauricio Suleiman, the son of the late, great Jose Suleiman. And he was on the AH show. Credit and shout out, double salute to the AH show, who was interviewing Mr. Suleiman. And he asked him about the sanctioning fees. And he brought up, the entire Terrence Crawford situation. Obviously, we know that Shakur Stevenson is going through the same situation with the WBC and not interested and willing to pay the sanctioning fees. Did you all hear that? Can I get somebody in the live chat? I just want to make sure the audio was clear. I want to make sure we all heard that. Can we get a live chat? Just yes or no, real quick. I want to make sure we all heard that now. And while we're in the interim of waiting for somebody to give me that, Thomas says something in the live chat. Grab a plate. Please, I want you all to please grab you a plate now. This is the moment of the show. Grab a plate. I have some food that I want to serve you. Some food for thought. Okay? Now, the same thing happened in the Terrence Crawford situation. That's happened right now and again with the Shakur Stevenson matter. The WBC's rules and regulations ensures that the fighter, the professional boxer who is a world champion representing their organization, will get authorization to compete even if they move up in weight or even if they compete for another world title from another sanctioning body. But they have to do it in writing. So apparently, both parties, Shakur Stevenson through his representation, and of course, Terrence Crawford, they both sent in written consideration proposing to the WBC, let's stick on Shakur, for the WBC to authorize and sanction the bout, since they are representing their organization as a title holder, Shakur Stevenson, to go up in weight and fight and challenge for the WBO title against Teofimo Lopez. Same thing that happened with Terrence Crawford. You just heard the WBC president, Mr. Suleiman, just say it. There were terms and conditions that are associated with the authorization. In other words, is yes, you have our full support as the sanctioning body, the WBC, to compete for another sanctioned body's world title, even if you're moving up in weight. In Terrence Crawford's situation and Shakur Stevenson's, right? In Terrence Crawford's situation, it was Canelo Alvarez in September of 2025. And of course, in Shakur Stevenson's situation, moving up fighting Teofimo. We all on the same page now, right? Okay, cool, great. Now, terms and conditions are, we will authorize it, we will sanction it, which is why the WBC was there when Shakur Stevenson fought Teofimo, and they always are present, right? And shout out to the promoters, because like I told y'all earlier, and like I told y'all a year, 2 and 3 years ago, that the promoter's responsible to make sure that the executive directors, presidents, and their delegates of the sanctioning bodies are placed in good hotel suites, receive a per diem to eat, and airfare to and from the venue, right? On the expense of the promoter. And that's for 4 days. And that's for a total of 4 people, including, of course, the president and or executive of the actual sanctioning body. That's from the promoter. We ain't even get to the sanction fees of the fighters yet. That's just for the promoter. That's just for the event. And there are tickets that, of course, the promoter will obviously have to pay for those 4 executives to be at the event. And plus, there's other tickets that the promoter have to pay for when that promoter give comp tickets to the sanctioning body, who, then try to help out local boxing gyms and other people that they want to help out that support the WBC and their other subsidiary organizations and programs that they have within the WBC organization, right? Okay, now we clear on that. Now, in that, the professional boxer has the obligation, in exchange for the authorization and sanctioning the bout, for Shakur Stevenson to earn a big check to fight Teofimo Lopez and also to win against Teofimo and become the WBO junior welterweight champion. You got to pay your fee. That's the exchange. Because here's the thing. I said this in a video I published about it, and I'm going to say it again. It's very relative. When this fight is advertised and marketed by DAZN, by the promoter to sponsor, right? Because the promoter has to go to the sponsors, right? To attract them and to appeal to them that they're going to get something in exchange in value for them providing financial resources in exchange for advertisements, right? And in the promotion and marketing, the zone, the platform, the network, the promoter that's going out here getting the sponsorship money, this is how they're going to promote it to the casual boxing fan. This is how they're going to promote it. It's a world championship title fight. You won't even be able to get the amount of money you're getting through the purse if it wasn't a world title fight. Now I'm going to teach you the business now. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take Shakur Stevenson. Prime example. When Shakur Stevenson fought Josh Padley. Let's say when he fought Josh Padley. Let's just shoot Josh Padley. Shakur Stevenson's money fighting a Josh Padley is totally different than the Shakur Stevenson's money fighting the Teofimo Lopez for a world title in New York City. Right or wrong? Okay, then. Why am I bringing that up? What's the purpose of me talking about that? Very simple. When there's a world title fight, and I'm talking about high profile, the fighter who signed to a promoter, let's say Shakur Stevenson, isn't he signed to Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing Promotion Company? Yes. So in the language of the contract, Shakur Stevenson fighting, let's say, manager Marty in a non-title bout is totally different from a Shakur Stevenson fighting a Teofimo Lopez for a world title, because the promoter is obligated to pay Shakur Stevenson based on the amount of rounds that Shakur Stevenson is going to compete in, and based on the magnitude of the fight. Obviously, this is a world title fight. And watch this. It doesn't stop there. This is the language and standard boxing contracts. You ain't going to find this nowhere else. And not only that, but also whether or not this fight is going to be televised. Those are the three determining factors that will increase the revenue opportunity for the fighter rendering their services. And all three of those scenarios played out in the favor of Shakur Stevenson. That would have never happened if Shakur didn't have the opportunity to fight Teo. But who gave him the opportunity? Yes, his promoter did. They're obligated to give Shakur Stevenson a certain amount of fights that they must promote throughout that specific term of the agreement. But it was the WBC who authorized and sanctioned the bout, because Shakur Stevenson was the WBC lightweight champion of the world. And yes, he was moving up, but he still was representing the WBC, because no matter if he's defending the title or just moving up in weight, he's still a WBC world champion. And there are sanction fees that are associated to that responsibility. So in that, Shakur Stevenson can't turn back around after receiving the authorization from the WBC to represent their title, their organization, even though he's moving up to compete for another one, and also getting a crazy bag, more money compared to him defending it against a Josh Padley. Can't turn right back around and say, I'm not paying you the $120,000. That's not good business. It's the cost of doing business. And not only that, but the exchange for the authorization and sanction by the WBC, y'all agreed to the terms. Just like Terrence Crawford agreed to the terms for the WBC to authorize and sanction a bout when he moved up to fight Canelo. It's the same movie. And both Terrence Crawford and Shakur Stevenson had an issue. Later on in the interview, I have to find it if you actually want to hear it, but I'm going to just say it verbatim. He was asked, President Suleiman was asked, why do you think these fighters have a problem with paying the sanctioning fee? And Mauricio said it so eloquently. He said, it's when the fighters start making bigger purses. It's when they start making bigger money. That's when they have a problem. When they're making a small check, they don't have a problem paying. It's when they start making multi-millions or millions of dollars where they start to feel like they are disenfranchised or disenchanted to pay the sanctioning fees. And I have to agree with Mr. Suleiman. How do we know that's true? Because Shakur Stevenson and even Terrence Crawford, but we're going to just use Shakur as a reference. Shakur Stevenson is a 4-division world champion today. So my question becomes, before fighting Teofimo Lopez to become a 4-division world champion, what about in the other 3 divisions? You didn't have a problem paying then. Terrence Crawford, same thing. When you was in the lightweight division, you didn't have a problem paying then when you was undisputed. Fought Errol Spence and beat him. Impressively, may I add. But defeated Errol Spence. Got all 4 of the belts. Unified. Undisputed. You didn't have a problem then for paying. You didn't have a. So I'm just trying to figure out, Why do you have a problem now of doing good business? That's for Shakur Stevenson, I'm asking. I mean, I can ask Bud that. I asked him that already on the other videos I published, but he's retired, so we sticking on Shakur and Shakur's representation. Why y'all have a problem now? You've been paying. Why now? It's the cost of doing business, and it's an agreement that you made before the WBC authorized you to go up to fight Teofimo. If the WBC decided not to sanction that bout couldn't happen. If the WBC didn't give authorization for that fight to happen, the fight probably would have happened. But guess what? They couldn't market Shakur Stevenson as a world champion like they was doing in the build-up and promotion of this fight because the WBC could have stripped him for violating the rules and regulations. But it's different when a promoter is going to a sponsor and saying, hey, the fighter that's going to be competing in this fight that I promote, he's a WBC world champion. I got to say that again. He's a WBC world champion. The WBC is globally recognized. That green belt is globally recognized. Believe that. And I'm not comparing all four of the major sanctioning bodies. I'm just saying the most well-recognized and famous one is the WBC. We know they have a lot of longevity. The point that I'm really getting at is when the promoter go to the sponsor to get money from the sponsor in exchange for advertisement, the two major negotiating points that they're going to use to their advantage in that room, I have a world champion that I promote. That's number one. And number two, I have a major network that's going to give you the exposure and the advertisement because they're global and they have audiences all around this world. So all the fans that's going to tune into this fight will be exposed to your logo and your brand. So we can't sit here and act like the promoter should pay their fees because they have to pay sanctioning fees too. I just told y'all that. And they have to pay for 4 executives airfare, a per diem to eat every day for 4 days, transportation, let me not forget about that, and hotel stay for 4 days. That's just for the event by itself. I mean, I'm not even talking about the other fees that they got to pay building the fighter up in the ranking system. That's just for the event itself. And then the challenger have to pay most of the times is a 2% sanctioning fee. The challenging for the world title. If they're not a world champion, okay? Just wanted to be clear on that. So everybody else involved have to pay their business expenses. The challenger, the sponsors, the promoters, the network, which is DAZN, the streaming platform cutting the check. The other promotion company, let's say a De La Hoya, let's say a Turkey Al-Sheikh. So every other entity has to pay operating costs, has to pay their business expense to make a profit, but Shakur Stevenson don't? Where they do that at? But Terrence Crawford don't? Where they do that at? Even Errol Spence was the first one to mention this enchantment with the sanctioning bodies in the build-up and the press conference of the Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford fight. Y'all remember that? But guess what Errol Spence still did? He paid this business expense. He paid the sanctioning bodies. It's called good business. There is absolutely no excuse because Shakur Stevenson and his representation agreed to the terms, which is why the WBC had no problem authorizing Shakur to move up in weight to compete for another sanctioning body's title, and they actually sanctioned the bout. I mean, Shakur Stevenson did have the WBC hat on after the fight, didn't he? Okay, then. So it's not like the WBC was not present to do their job. They worked that night. Mr. Suleiman, the other executives that had to supervise, everybody had to pay. And I mean, I ain't even get into the other expenses that the promoter must pay for this event. I'm not even talking about taxes. I'm not even going to get into all of that. The point that I'm making is everyone else had to pay their business expenses. And Shakur Stevenson should not be an exception to the rule. And speaking of the rule, everything the WBC did was according to the rules and regulations. If it was so much of a problem for Shakur Stevenson to adhere to the rules and regulations, then he should not have moved up to fight for the title and challenge for it in the first place. I'm not talking about the TO fight. I'm talking about when he challenged for the WBC title in the lightweight division. Him and his representatives should have declined the offer, period. But because they know that's how you get the biggest bag when you challenge for a title or defend it, they agreed. That's not good business. And that's coming from the boxing manager here. That's not good business. And I don't think it's fair to the sanctioning bodies or any entity that have to expend resources, whether it be time, money, or other resources, make an agreement with another party, uphold their end of the bargain, and then get stiffed on the back end. There's nothing righteous about that. So I can't stand with Shakur Stevenson on this one. I didn't stand with Bud Crawford when he did it, and I can't stand with Shakur on this one. No matter how much I like either guy. It's not about liking or not liking. It's not about agreeing or not agreeing. It's about doing what is righteous, maintaining integrity, and doing good business. Bottom line. And this is the part that's even more egregious. The fact that Shakur Stevenson has representation. Now, I can see if Shakur didn't have representation, but Shakur Stevenson have a boxing manager and a boxing promoter, and I have to take my glasses off to say this last part. They both are receiving a piece of his purse when he fought Teofimo Lopez. We know the maximum purse that a manager can take is 33 1/3%. I don't know if that's Jay Prince's fee. That's none of my business. We also know the maximum amount that boxing promoters take from fighters that compete on another promotion card is 30%. I don't know if that's Eddie Hearn and Matchroom's fee. That's none of my business. But the point of the matter is that Shakur Stevenson, I bet you he made sure he paid Eddie Hearn. Because without the authorization of the promoter, Eddie Hearn, he would not have been able to fight Teofimo Lopez. I can assure you also that he made sure that he paid his manager, Jay Prince. Because without the authorization of his manager, Jay Prince, he would not have been able to fight Teofimo Lopez. And I know that because I know the business of boxing. So all I'm saying is, if Shakur was willing and able to pay the WBC before and other sanctioning bodies before, because he was a 3-division world champion before this fight, then it shouldn't be no problem paying now. And if he's going to pay his representation through his promoter and manager, which is his business expense based on him fulfilling his contractual obligation, is no different than him paying the WBC. It's just very simple. And I also want to say this, and I'm going to leave y'all with this. There is no reason for anyone to bring up race relations in this situation. I've seen it already. Where people are making this racial because Shakur Stevenson is a minority. Oh, he's black, Terrence Crawford is a black man. They only doing this because these guys are black. Stop it. They were black when they paid the fees before. They were black when they raised their hands with the titles in their hands. They were black when they allowed the supervisors of those sanctioning bodies, including Mr. Suleiman, to strap the belt around their shoulders and waists. They were black when they allowed Mr. Suleiman to put the WBC shirt and hat on him after the fight. And they were black when they signed the contract to get in that ring and compete and sign for the check. So please, stop making this racial, because it's not. The only color that matters in this situation with Shakur Stevenson in the WBC is green. And I'm not talking about the green belt. I'm talking about that green dollar. You know what? I'm doing way too much talking. I mean, look, don't take my word for it.